Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. When Activision announced a remaster of Call of Duty 4, players were excited. MW1 is a legendary game. A remaster was guaranteed money. But Activision did something almost nobody expected. They locked the remaster behind the purchase of Infinite Warfare. If you wanted Modern Warfare Remastered at launch in 2016, you had to buy Infinite Warfare. There was no standalone option at release, no separate edition, no downgrade path, nothing. Players called this a hostage situation, and that was only the beginning. Once the remaster launched, fans discovered more problems. The remaster was supposed to respect the original game, but it added microtransactions, supply drops, cosmetics, new melee weapons. None of this existed in the original. Then Activision released the Variety Map Pack for MUR at a premium price. The map pack was already paid DLC in the original 2007 release, but many players expected it to be included inside a remaster. Selling it again without bundling it into the base package made the community furious. Fans felt like they were being charged again for decade-old content they thought would be part of the remaster. This moment is still remembered as a turning point where players realized Activision was willing to monetize nostalgia aggressively. The remaster itself was great. The business model around it was not. Modern Warfare Remastered did eventually release as a standalone title in 2017, but the damage was already done. The controversy had already shaped the community's perception. For many players, ours is the perfect example of how a beloved classic can be turned into a cash machine. Call of Duty Mobile is one of the biggest success stories in the franchise. Millions of players worldwide, fast gameplay, free to play, constant updates. It is a massive hit. But outside the game, something darker happened. In many regions, including Nigeria, players did not have easy access to COD points through official payment channels. This created an entire gray market of unofficial CP sellers, and this gray market exploded with scams. Players were tricked into sending money through WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram pages, and gaming groups. Scammers offered cheap CP bundles, then stole accounts vanished after payment used, phishing links resold stolen CP from hacked accounts, victims lost money, skins, progress, and sometimes full accounts they had built for years. Some scammers used fake receipts. Others used cloned profiles pretending to be official Activision or Garena agents. These were not small, isolated incidents. They became widespread in multiple regions. The scam was not run by Activision, but the lack of accessible official payment options created the perfect conditions for it to thrive. This remains one of the most damaging community-level scams connected to the Call of Duty brand. Here is batch 2 of 6 about 500 words. Includes all your required corrections. No EM dashes. No repeated mistakes from earlier. Black Ops 4. When Black Ops 4 launched in 2018, longtime fans expected something familiar. A full campaign, multiplayer, zombies, the classic Treyarch package. But this time, one of those pillars was missing. There was no campaign, not a short one, not a cut-down version, none at all. This was the first mainline Call of Duty in franchise history to ship without a traditional story mode. For a series built on missions like All Gillied Up, No Russian, and Black Ops mind control sequences, the absence of a narrative shocked the community. Treyarch attempted to introduce an alternative called Specialist HQ. This mode combined tutorial-style missions with cinematics meant to connect the specialists into a loose storyline. But players quickly realized Specialist HQ was not a real campaign. It lacked level progression, set-piece missions, emotional arcs, or traditional structure. Most players saw it as a training mode with cutscenes, not a replacement for a campaign. The frustration grew because Black Ops had delivered full campaigns for 15 straight years. Fans assumed BO4 would continue the tradition, yet the game released at full price with one of its main components missing. This created a sense of disappointment. Players felt that a core piece of the product had been removed without any adjustment in value. Blackout and Zombies were strong additions, but the missing campaign left a noticeable gap. The backlash was significant enough that every Call of Duty released after BO4 brought the campaign back. The BO4 situation became a lesson many fans still point to when discussing content value and expectations. Black Ops Cold War, the hidden pay to win. Blueprint issue. Black Ops Cold War launched with strong multiplayer and a popular zombies mode, but it also introduced one of the most controversial blueprint situations in the franchise. Players started noticing that certain blueprints behaved differently from their base versions. They had hidden stat changes not listed in the menus. This meant the blueprint version of a weapon could perform better than the standard version, giving an advantage to players who earned or paid for the premium item. The most infamous example was the MAC-10 Gallantry blueprint in Season 1. It was not a store bundle purchase, but it was unlocked at Tier 95 of the paid Season 1 Battle Pass. Because the Battle Pass could be advanced with COD points, many players still viewed it as a monetized advantage. The Gallantry version had improved recoil control and a noticeably stronger effective time to kill compared to the base MAC-10. Content creators and stat analysts tested it in detail and confirmed that it was outperforming the standard gun. This was not a cosmetic upgrade. This was not a harmless blueprint difference. This directly affected gunfights. When players finally exposed the hidden buffs, outrage spread across the community. Many called it a stealth pay-to-win moment because players who bought the battle pass or paid to skip tiers gained a powerful competitive edge. Treyarch patched the blueprint later, evening out the stats, but the controversy damaged the trust of many players, who felt that blueprints should never outperform base weapons in secret. The loot box and supply drop era, the multi-year pay-to-win. Loot before battle passes became the standard, Call of Duty went through one of the most controversial business phases in its history. This era was defined by supply drops. To many players, they were nothing more than gambling wrapped in game design. The system started in Advanced Warfare in 2014. Sledgehammer introduced weapon variants with different stats. These variants changed the outcome of gunfights. Some had better handling, some had more damage, some made guns significantly stronger than their default versions. The problem was how players got them. The strongest variants were locked inside random supply drops. This meant a casual player could grind for hours and never see the variant they needed, but a player willing to spend money on supply drops could pull a top-tier weapon on day one. This imbalance created frustration across the community. The most infamous examples included the BAL-27 Obsidian Steed, the ASM-1 Speakeasy, the RIP, the Insanity. These variants defined the meta, and were almost impossible to obtain consistently without paying or getting extremely lucky. The system carried forward into later games. Black Ops 3 added entire weapons to supply drops. Infinite Warfare and AA 2 added variants, melee weapons, and rare cosmetics inside loot boxes. Many players felt the system was predatory because the drop rates were hidden and the power level of many items depended on random chance. This era lasted from 2014 to 2018. It left a permanent mark on the community. Even though Activision eventually removed loot boxes in favor of transparent battle passes, the supply drop era remains one of the most disliked monetization systems in Call of Duty history. The Nuketown pre-order controversy, a bonus that was not really a bonus. Nuketown is one of the most popular maps in the entire franchise. Fast-paced, bright, explosive. A chaotic fan favorite since Black Ops 1. Because of that popularity, Activision used Nuketown heavily as a pre-order incentive. Black Ops 2 marketed Nuketown 2025 as a pre-order bonus. Black Ops 3 did the same with Nuke 3 Town. Players were told the pre-order version included special access to the map, and many people pre-ordered specifically to get it. But then problems started. In Black Ops 2, the famous Nuketown 24/7 playlist was removed only a week after launch. It was replaced by Chaos Mosh Pit, a playlist that did not guarantee Nuketown. Players who pre-ordered felt misled because the map they were promised as a highlight mode suddenly disappeared. Community backlash was loud enough that Treyarch eventually restored access. In Black Ops 3, Nuke 3 Town also became free for all players shortly after launch. This made the pre-order bonus feel pointless. For many players, the issue was not that the map became free. The issue was how the exclusivity was marketed. Players felt they were pushed to pre-order a full-priced game to get content that was eventually given away anyway. This controversy reinforced a long-standing distrust toward pre-order bonuses in the Call of Duty series. Advanced Warfare and the variant economy, when RNG became more powerful than skill. To understand how deep Call of Duty's monetization went during the supply drop era, we need to look closely at Advanced Warfare. This is the game that reshaped the direction of the franchise's business model. It showed Activision that players would chase power inside a randomized system. Advanced Warfare introduced weapon variants that directly altered how guns performed. These were not tiny cosmetic changes. These were real stat adjustments that affected damage output, accuracy, fire rate, and handling. Some variants were clearly superior to the base weapons. The most famous ones became legends in the community. The Obsidian Steed, the ASM-1 Speakeasy, the RIP, the Insanity. These variants often beat their base counterparts in nearly every category. They became essential in competitive lobbies and public matches. But the problem was how you obtain them. Overpowered variants lived behind random supply drops. This meant your performance in a match could depend on luck instead of skill. If a player pulled the right variant early, they gained a huge advantage. Meanwhile, others could grind for days without ever seeing the same drops. Or they could pay money and hope they got lucky. The system created a pay-influenced meta. You either pulled the weapon you needed, or you did not. There was no direct path to unlock these items. Advanced Warfare set the template for years of monetization. Its influence carried into Black Ops 3 2, shaping how weapons and variants were distributed. Even today, players still point to A2 as the moment when Call of Duty stopped being predictable and started leaning into high-pressure RNG systems. Call of Duty. When supply drops became a public show, Call of Duty did something unusual at launch. It introduced the headquarters social hub, a shared space where players could gather between matches. Inside this hub, players could open supply drops in front of others. The idea was simple. Opening loot boxes would feel more exciting if other players were watching. It was designed to make the process social, fun, and rewarding. But the result was the opposite. The system unintentionally exposed how excessive the loot box mechanics were. Players gathered in circles around someone opening crates. They saw duplicate items. They saw filler content. They saw how often drops contained low-value items instead of what players wanted. It made the grind feel pointless. It made the randomness feel unfair. It turned supply drops into a spectacle. Did not lean as heavily into pay to win variants as Advanced Warfare, but the constant presence of loot boxes became overwhelming. Players felt the game was built to encourage spending instead of rewarding gameplay. The public nature of headquarters made this obvious to everyone. The backlash grew so loud that Activision eventually moved away from supply drop systems entirely in the next mainline game. 2E's headquarters is still remembered as the moment when the community realized how aggressive loot box design had become. The black market revolt in Black Ops 3, when microtransactions took over a great game. Black Ops 3 is one of the most beloved entries in the franchise. Fast movement, deep zombies mode, a long lifespan supported by constant updates. But beneath the fun gameplay was one of the most criticized monetization systems in Call of Duty history, the black market. At launch, the black market focused mostly on cosmetics, camos, emotes, melee weapons. Players saw it as harmless because the drops were not affecting the core meta. But as the months passed, Treyarch slowly expanded what the black market offered. Then the real problems began. Black Ops 3 started adding full-ranged weapons into supply drops, not weapon skins, not blueprint-style variations, entire guns. And these guns could only be obtained through loot boxes with extremely low drop rates. Examples included the XMC, the M16, the PPSH, the KVK, the Galil, the DIY-11 Renovator, and many more. These were not simple collectible items. Many of these guns performed at or above the strength of base weapons. Some became top-tier meta picks, but players could not buy them directly. They could not grind for them normally. The only way to get these weapons was luck or money. This turned the black market into a long-running controversy. Players posted videos of spending hundreds of dollars without receiving the weapons they wanted. Others got lucky in a single drop. The sheer randomness created frustration and distrust, especially among players who felt BO3 had the potential to be remembered even more positively without the heavy monetization. By the end of its life cycle, BO3 became one of the strongest examples of why loot box weapon systems were so disliked. The game is still popular today, but the black market system remains one of its biggest scars. The rise of bundles and premium cosmetics. How Modern Warfare 2019 changed monetization forever. When Modern Warfare 2019 launched, Activision made a major shift away from loot boxes. Supply drops were gone. Map packs were gone. The community celebrated because it felt like a return to fair and predictable systems. But the celebration did not last long. Loot boxes were replaced by the in-game store. Instead of RNG, bundles became the new primary form of monetization. The benefit was that players could see exactly what they were buying. No randomness, no hidden odds. But the new system came with its own issues. Many bundles were extremely expensive. Some cost nearly a third of the full game price. Rare operator skins and attractive blueprint designs became status items. In Warzone, certain dark-themed operator skins, including the infamous Rose skin, gained visibility advantages on dark maps, creating frustration among players who felt cosmetics should never offer tactical benefits. The store refreshed constantly. New bundles appeared weekly. Some were themed, some offered unique tracer rounds. Others combined animated skins, weapon effects, and executions. For some players, the variety was impressive. For others, it felt overwhelming and too expensive. This shift marked the beginning of a new era. No more loot boxes, no more supply drop gambling, but a heavy push toward premium cosmetics at higher price points. Modern Warfare 2019 changed Call of Duty's financial model permanently. Bundles became a central revenue source. The shift was not a scam in the traditional sense, but many players argued that the pricing strategy felt increasingly aggressive. It showed that even when loot boxes disappeared, monetization did not slow down. The premium edition problem. When expensive editions offered minimal real value across multiple Call of Duty releases, Activision has pushed premium editions and ultimate editions at higher price points. These editions often cost significantly more than the standard edition, but the actual bonuses inside them were usually small. Typical premium edition bonuses included XP boosts, cosmetic operator skins, exclusive calling cards, blueprints, battle pass, tier skips, early campaign access. For many fans, the biggest issue was the value gap. Players were paying much more, but receiving items that did not change gameplay in any meaningful way. Some editions were criticized for offering bonuses that should have been standard features, such as early campaign access. In earlier years, campaign early access was sometimes a universal pre-order perk or marketing bonus, not something locked behind the most expensive edition. This became a recurring frustration because premium editions were marketed heavily. Players felt pressured to buy the highest tier version to avoid missing early access or exclusive cosmetics. Over time, many began calling these editions soft scams because the added content rarely justified the high price. The debate continues across recent titles. Some players enjoy the cosmetics. Others argue the value is thin compared to the cost. Regardless, premium editions remain a modern part of Call of Duty's monetization strategy. The specialist bribe, crates, and timed events issue. When time pressure turned loot boxes into panic purchases. During the Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 era, Treyarch experimented with timed black market events events and special crates known as bribe crates. These crates guaranteed certain item types, such as a weapon or an ultra-rare item. On the surface, this looked like a positive change, giving players a clearer idea of what they could unlock, but Treyarch tied these crates to limited time events. This meant players had only a short window to earn or buy the crates. Some of the most desirable cosmetics and weapons were locked behind these events. If a player missed the event period, the item often disappeared from the game entirely. Players criticized the system for encouraging panic spending, creating fear of missing out, offering crates with unclear odds, removing items permanently after events using time limits to push players into fast purchases. Collectors were especially frustrated. Missing a single event could mean losing access to a cosmetic forever. The system felt aggressive because it combined randomness with time pressure, two of the most disliked monetization strategies. By the time Activision fully moved to battle passes in later titles, timed bribe crates had already damaged trust. These systems became an example of how far monetization could push urgency and fear to drive spending.